Good morning, everybody. This is Al Stefanelli, and you are listening to Boquete Now, talk radio on Radio Cherokee 103.3 FM. We're sponsored by Big Daddy's Grill and the ACC Boquete. And speaking of Big Daddy's Grill, segue into Chris Young, segue into Boulder 54. How you like that? He's got a couple of specials coming up that I think you're probably really going to enjoy. Monday, April 26th is Tex-Mex Night with Chef Benjamin. Includes a starter, main course, and dessert. Only $35 per person, plus tax from 5 p.m. And the following Thursday, April 29th, chicken fried steak. So if you're from anywhere in the southern United States and you haven't had a dose of chicken fried steak in a while, well, now's your opportunity to do that. Thank you for joining me today. We have a great show for you. Judy Odom is, I got that right, Odom or Odoms? Odom?
Odom.
Odom. Judy Odom from Los Meninos Cat Sanctuary. And, well, there's a lot to unpack here. I know we only got an hour, but I know you've got a lot going on. Welcome to the show, Judy.
Well, thank you, Al. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem at all. You know, on and off, you know, we've had you guys on the show about a year and a half ago, maybe, if my memory serves me correctly, which it usually doesn't. So sometime in the past, you were on the show. And I know you got a lot going on over there. I've been following what you've been doing with your place. It's good to see building. It's good to see things improving, and it's good to see anything through this pandemic actually moving forward. Mm-hmm. So yeah, kudos on that. But before we get into all of that, if you don't know what the Los Meninos Cat Sanctuary is, if you've never heard of it, if you don't know what they do, Judy, would you give us an idea of just what is Los Meninos and how is it different from some of the other cat sanctuaries out there?
Yes, well, thank you. Los Meninos is a place, so it is a sanctuary in every sense of the word, in that cats who come to live in Los Meninos have a lifetime place to live if they need it. Oh. We also have cats that are adoptable, and we like to find them the appropriate home.
Sure.
But Los Meninos is also a philosophy. We have guiding principles and values that we stick by, and I guess the foremost value that we observe is that each cat is an individual. So they're treated as individuals. This is not herd management. Every kitty is different. Every kitty has their own special needs, and we try to accommodate them to the best of our ability.
Sure. I think it's really fantastic that you're providing a lifetime place. I know that there's, especially with the dog rescues, there's a lot of them, and they're not permanent homes. And some of the dogs that they may be sick, they may be injured, they may have special needs, don't really have, for the most part, a place that they don't have to worry about, right? That they have a permanent home. So I guess that's where the sanctuary comes in.
Yes, because I started this work about 16 years ago, and at that point in time, there just weren't a lot of people who had cats as pets. Mm-hmm. And so whenever I rescued a cat, of course I would try and find it a home, mm-hmm. but chances of finding a suitable adopter 15 years ago, it just wasn't good odds.
It just wasn't a thing here.
Right.
Yeah.
Now all of that's changed,
sure.
thankfully, and a lot of animals that we try to adopt out do find really wonderful homes.
That's nice.
But as a consequence, I now have animals that are over 15 years old, and I have quite a few of them. So their odds of getting adopted are quite small, but still they have a place to live. They're going to be well cared for. They're going to be loved, and they'll be happy cats and taken care of their entire life.
And that's you mentioned just a couple. Well, actually, when we were talking before the show, you had mentioned that cats are living longer now, and that's posing some challenges. But it's very, very interesting to me as someone who has had cats in the past. That concept of not being a herd type of thing, where each cat is in. That's hard to do if you have a lot of animals. My wife ran a kennel for a dog kennel for many years, and having the ability to individualize each animal, that's a skill and that's a gift, I guess. A lot of people can't do that. So, props, man. That's fantastic.
Well, I think of it more as a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Because each cat has their own individual personality. And for example, if someone comes to me and wants to adopt a cat, which I think is wonderful, it's very important to me to find out what kind of environment that cat is going to live in, what
Right.
the people are like.
That was actually going to be my next, next thing I wanted to ask you is, do you go to do you visit the potential permanent homes of these cats, and are there any conditions, that would have to be met, as far as you go, okay, this will work?
Yes, mostly what I do is interview people. And most people are very forthcoming in their answers. And I need to know, where the home is located, if it's a farm, if it's an apartment, if it's on a busy road, if there's a fenced-in yard, how many people are living there,
Any
what
other animals,
ages are
yeah.
there, what other animals are there. For example, if people have a dog, there are some cats that are just don't get along with dogs at all.
Sure, yeah.
They're either terrified of them or they attack them.
They're aggressive, yeah.
Right.
And
So-
same thing with the dogs. I guess it has to be, the dog would have to be able to get along with the cat as well as the cat. Yeah.
Yes,
And we had both
absolutely.
growing up. We had dogs and cats, and they got along fine.
Yeah,
You know,
in
yeah.
most cases that's true, but there are times when you run into aggressive dogs or dogs that have a pack mentality, and you need to be a little bit careful of that. So, again, when trying to match up the cat, it's really about personalities and about the personalities of the people in that home and the personalities of the animals in that home. So some cats will be very happy being inside 100% of the time.
Sure.
And certainly they're very safe if they're inside. Other cats will want to go outside. For example, if you're a gardener and you go out into your garden and you're picking weeds or planting bulbs or whatever it is that you're doing, there are cats that would just love to come along and
Yeah.
hang out with you. It's
Sure.
not that you have to be interacting with them or touching them.
They just
or
want to be
anything.
near you.
They want to be near you, and they want that kind of companionship. So like I said, every cat is different.
Sure.
So you try to match the people with the personality of the
So
cat.
yeah, an indoor cat. That's what we used to call them. I don't know if that's our cat. We had one cat that was just indoors, would
Right.
not go out. We had another two that one would just go out to do their business and then come back, and we had another one that we'd let her out in the morning, and dinner time she's back.
Right.
I would imagine that the indoor type of cat would be ideal for someone who lived maybe in an apartment.
Yes, or in some homes. For example, I know there are people around who spend a lot of time on a computer or at a desk or
Yeah.
in a sitting position. I have cats that live for lap time.
Oh,
So, those tend to be the most
Yeah.
indoor-oriented cats, and that's who I would pair someone who was, sedentary most of the day. So,
they love sitting on a keyboard of a laptop.
Yeah, don't they, though?
I know. Now, I know you're not the only organization here that's involved with cats, but I believe that one of the things that you do, I don't want to say exclusively, you can correct me on that, is to care for special needs cats. So do you have a working relationship or a friendship or a camaraderie with some of the other organizations here that take in cats?
Yes, absolutely. And we all have a focus that is different from each other, but we definitely interact. I would say that my absolute hero is Kirsten Quimby and what she does with feral cat colonies that she's established around here. So, of course, I keep in close touch with Kirsten. There are a couple of people who will foster, especially kittens. I try not to take kittens into my sanctuary because they're very adoptable, and there are other people
Sure.
out in the area who can take those very adoptable kittens and find them a suitable home. But yes, there's a number of people that I work with. The Amigos de Animales for
Yeah.
the clinic, for the sterilization. It's incredibly important.
They're fantastic people.
Yeah,
They really are.
they do amazing work. So there are many, many people in the Boquete area who are quite committed to to animals, to the welfare of animals, and devoting their time and their resources and their energy to making life better for the animals that are here.
Yeah, I remember when my wife and I volunteered some of the clinics down there at the Amigos de Animales, and I got there and I said, okay, well, where do you need me, right? And they said, okay, well, we're going to put you in this little room in the back. It's where the medicine is, and we're going to give you burlap bags. And we need you to put these cats in the bag and then weigh them so they can get the correct dosage of, I guess, you know, the anesthesia.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, yeah, sounds like fun. After 2 or 3 visits to the anesthesia station myself, the antiseptic station myself, and I'm not an expert in any of this. I'm really not. But I figured there had to be an easier way to do this because cats don't really like being taken out of the carriers and then put in a bag. I mean, it's humane, but they don't like it. So what they started doing, and I don't know if you guys were involved in this or not, but they changed their entire way that they do the intake on the cats. So now they remain in the crate when they come through the door, which I thought was a fantastic thing. That seemed to be the way that I had started doing it. It seemed to be really stressful on the animals.
Right.
And, you know, you don't want that. It's stressful enough having to go through that. Before we move to I know you got a lot going on, and I know we got a short amount of time, but how did you get into this? This isn't something I guess most people wake up and say, I think I'll open a cat sanctuary and take care of special needs cats and give them a home. I mean, how did you get involved in that? And from the time you you said, okay, this is what I want to do, how long was it till you actually started, receiving your animals?
Well, actually, I never made the decision to do this. I too am one of those people that never woke up going, oh, I want a cat sanctuary. What happened was I moved here about 17 years ago, and I brought 2 cats with me from the United States. So neighbors and friends knew that I liked cats. Well, a woman that lived close by had rescued some kittens that their mother had been poisoned. So these were kittens who, were in desperate need of help. She took them home, and her 2 boxers tried to eat the kittens. So she called me and asked me if I could take these little baby kittens, which I did. But they still needed formula, and at that time, there was no such thing as kitten formula that you could buy off the shelf. So
Wow.
I had to look it up on the internet, how to make your own, and then I had to wait until the stores opened the next morning. So I wasn't sure these kittens were going to make it through the night. But they did. They lived. They survived. They did really well, and, lived for many, many years. But because of that, people started... It was like, hey, we've got your number. We know that if we have a cat in trouble, we can take it to you and you'll take care of it. And at the time, I was living in Valle Escondido, and they had a 2-pet policy. And I was already at 5 cats living in my house, and was a little bit nervous about it.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to, find somebody else to take the cats, my thought was, oh my God, I have to move. So... That's what I did. I ended up moving out to Caldera and living in a little house out there. Well, once the folks in Caldera knew that I liked cats were showing up everywhere. I mean, they would be in my, they'd be in a bag thrown over the fence into my yard. If I left the car unlocked, they'd put them inside the car. I had to leave the windows rolled up, the doors locked, all this kind of thing. So very quickly, I ended up with 16 cats, not because I ever asked for any of them.
That's the way it worked out.
That's the way it worked out. And from there, the numbers escalated. So the more property I had, the more cats I had.
How many cats do you have now? About?
Right at 80,
80
82.
cats.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
So.
You mentioned when you were telling me about the first kittens that you had received that the mother was poisoned.
Yeah.
And that begs the question that's got to be something that cats face, abandoned cats or just feral cats. I know there's still a lot of people that have the mindset that they're more of a pest you know,
Yes.
than an animal. And, you know, if they're on your property, you just kill them or poison them or whatever. What are some of the other dangers that, you know, that these abandoned cats face if they don't end up, you know, being
Right.
cared for?
Well, first I want to make a distinction between an abandoned cat and a feral cat.
Sure.
The abandoned cat has been in a home and is accustomed to people. Feral cat is probably one that has lived in the wild, was born in the wild, and has never known a home or a refrigerator or a sofa. Or,
So one's pretty much domesticated, that someone
Yeah.
just decided,
yeah,
I don't want anymore.
And like you said, you know, pregnant cats get abandoned all the time. So we very often find either a mama with babies or a very pregnant cat, you know, under a bridge, in a garbage can, on the side of the road. You know, they really do get tossed out. So these cats that are pets don't have the skill set to survive in the wild, and
Yeah.
especially if they're having babies. I mean, once those babies get to be about 4 weeks old, mom has to go out and hunt and start feeding those babies. And if she doesn't have that skill set, then,
Yeah.
you know,
The kittens now,
the
they're
kittens
under,
die.
yeah.
And so that's a big risk for them. So it's starvation, dehydration. Dogs will kill cats. Automobiles are a big problem.
Sure, yeah.
Other feral cats will attack the cats and will often kill them. Then, whenever an abandoned cat gets into an altercation with another cat, there's the possibility of spreading disease.
Yeah.
And
sure.
there is a very, very bad virus here in our local area, feline leukemia virus, which is almost always deadly. And it's passed from one cat to another through saliva or blood.
Wow.
There
And
is a
that's-
vaccination for it.
Okay. I was going to ask, is there, you know, anything that could be done about that?
Yeah, there's an annual vaccination. It's very, very important. So even if your kitty cat is mostly a house cat, if it goes out at all, or if there's even the slightest possibility that it might escape out the door, out a window,
yeah,
or
which,
anything,
you know, they do.
yeah, they really have to have. You really need to vaccinate your cats every
And
year.
can that be done at Amigos or any of the other
It's done at the veterinary clinics.
at the veterinary clinics?
Right.
Okay.
And there are also tests to see if your cat is positive for that particular virus, in which case you'll want to be very attentive to their needs. They may seem perfectly healthy today, but could get desperately ill tomorrow. And you need to react very, very quickly to that.
Wow. I had no idea that was even a thing.
Yes. Also, there's FIV, which is like HIV only for felines. It's an immune system disorder. But those cats can live a normal, healthy life
With medication.
with, well, really with good care, you know, with good
okay.
food, with, you know, the right nutrition, a protected environment, those kinds of things. They're not going to get sick from something else and their
Right.
immune system not respond well to it. So if you can provide an FIV positive cat with an environment where their immune system will be protected and they're not aggressive towards other cats, because FIV can be spread between cats through grooming,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
bite wound, anything like that. So you have to be a little bit careful. But the FIV positive cats are definitely adoptable and can fit into your home.
Yeah,
It just
well,
depends on what's what.
You know, it's interesting though. You know, and thank you by the way for making the distinction between an abandoned cat and a feral cat. Somewhere in my foggy brain, I knew that, but you know, it went away, as things do, right? So individuals really need to know. People, you need to know that, you know, if for whatever reason they decide that they can't keep their animal, their cat, that they don't have to dump it on the side of the road. They don't have to let it go or just, you know, kick it out. And I know, you know, from reading the local Facebook groups, this is a very, and I know, you know, a lot of people don't realize how transient Boquete is. You know, my wife grew up in South Florida, very transient. You know, the average person stays here, the average expat stays here between 2 and 5 years. It's an average. You obviously have been here way longer than that. But average person, a retired person comes here 2 to 5 years. And, you know, usually when they have to move, it's maybe for health reasons, or what have you, and they have animals. And I've seen it posted. We have to move. We can't. Or we can only take one animal. Maybe they're going into an assisted living facility. They also need to know that they don't have to abandon their their cat.
Right. And Los Meninos is not the place to give your cat in that situation.
Okay. Well, thank you for clearing that up, because I've seen your place tagged on those posts. So just bring it over there. Okay.
Well, the reason for that is there's several reasons for it. First of all, if you have a house pet, a cat, we can help you find a home for it. So it can go from one home to another.
To another.
Home.
Oh, okay.
It takes months. Usually, it takes 3 to 4 months to rehome a pet.
So if you know in advance, you have to leave. Don't wait till the last minute.
Absolutely. Let us help you get the word out there and see if we can't help you get that cat adopted. Also, Los Meninos is a sanctuary for abandoned cats. So a kitty cat that has always been loved, always been cared for, is accustomed to a refrigerator and a sofa and a TV remote and all the things that go along with being somebody's beloved pet.
Yeah.
It's a shock for them to come into Los Meninos and have 70 other cats they have to interact with. And, there's feeding stations, and they're not getting all that absolute individual attention.
Yeah.
So I have taken cats in that situation, and I know from experience that they very often do not adjust well.
Yeah.
And so I've done everything I can to find those individuals another home.
So the best bet basically is, don't leave it as an afterthought. If usually when people plan to leave, they're planning 3, 4, 5, 6 months, unless there's a medical emergency. So
Right.
this would be something that you would put on your list of first. Let me. This is where I'm going to start to give you or somebody else the opportunity to have that cat make a transition from one home to the next without having to go into that environment.
Right. And, what we do is we work with the person, provide us with some nice photographs, tell us about your cat, the personality, maybe give us a couple of little stories that you can tell us about your kitty cat. And all of us have Facebook pages.
Sure,
And, some people have a list of folks who are looking to adopt an animal. So let's get the word out there and work with you to find that kitty cat another home.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. It really is. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about adoption, because you had said that you also, you have cats that are out for adoption. And, my wife and I have adopted and fostered dogs here to one degree or another. One of them we just decided to keep because she just landed right here, and that's it. She's staying. But we've had very successful transitions from a foster system, to a permanent home. And this is something maybe you can educate me as well as everybody else. My wife and I, over the 30 years that we've been married, all of the dogs, all of the pets we've had, they've all been rescues. Every single one of them. One of them we rescued actually from a puppy mill that had a booth at a flea market.
Yeah.
And I would have taken all of them, but he wanted $100 a piece for him, so we got the one. But relatives of mine and neighbors and whatnot have gone to, pet stores and had gone through a process of adopting an animal, and it didn't seem to be, from what they told me, it wasn't very involved. You fill out a form, you pay them $20 or $50 or $100 or whatever, and they hand you the animal, and then you walk out the door.
Right.
And I know that you briefly touched on this earlier, but what's the differences? What are the differences between how you guys do adoption? And first, can anyone come in and adopt a cat? What's the process,
Right.
of doing that? And let's just start with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's basically two ways an adoption happens. someone will get in touch with me and give me a description of the kind of kitty cat that they're looking for. And I put them through this interview process. And I have trick questions. So there's a lot that I can determine from the interview. And once I feel like the cat is potentially can go into a home that has the resources to be able to take care of it, not just food and litter, but if the cat gets sick, can you take it to the vet? Do you have a vehicle? Those kinds of things. What your past experience is. So I like it when people leave the decision up to me to suggest a particular individual cat for them, because I really can match the situation with the kitty cat. That's one way of doing it. The second way of doing it is actually to come out and visit at Los Meninos, and the kitty cats will come out and they'll sit on your lap, and you can interact with them, and maybe you just fall in love with one. Or as I had one kitty, she crawled inside the lady's purse and refused to get out.
Well,
so
there you go.
They took her home.
I guess so, right?
So that's the second way of doing it.
And I won't ask you what the trick questions are, because then they won't be trick questions
That's
anymore.
right.
So no. So don't send me any messages, everyone. I don't know. I'm not even going to ask her. So,
right. And I do follow up. So after there is an adoption, then I will follow up within a couple of days, just to make sure the transition goes well. And any cat that is adopted from Los Meninos is guaranteed, if something happens, maybe it's not a good fit in your home, you're welcome to give it back. No questions asked.
That's pretty important, because I have heard, I don't know anyone who's experienced this personally, but I have heard to where someone would adopt an animal, whether it be a cat or a dog, and for whatever reason, sometimes, it doesn't work out, and they're very reluctant. Maybe they feel shame or whatever of having to give it back. And my wife and I have had that. We've taken in a dog for a foster, and it was horrible.
Right.
It was just, it wasn't, very aggressive, destructive, ate a brand new mattress, fighting with my dogs to where there was, blood letting involved. And in that case, to say, hey, this is not working out. People should feel comfortable to be able to go back to where they've adopted their animal from and say, hey, this isn't working out. There's a problem here. Maybe it's something, you could offer advice on, or maybe it's just you visit and say, okay, this is just not going to,
right.
This is just not going to work out.
Right.
That's very important. And I would really stress to everyone who's considering adopting, don't be afraid to say this is not working out and decide to abandon, your animal.
Right. I'll give you an example where I had to take a cat back. A lovely lady that lived close to David in a neighborhood adopted a cat, and I took her over. The cat's name was Camilla. And I took Camilla over there and went through an introduction process, and everything went fairly well. But the next day when I called, the woman said, I don't know if this is going to work or not. Camilla ran underneath the bed, and she's just been crying and crying and crying ever since you left. And I said, well, give it another day and let's see how it goes. And the woman calls me the next day and says, I can't take it anymore. This cat is just miserable here. So I went and got her and took her back to the sanctuary. And of course, she was very happy to get to what she considered her home.
Yeah.
But sometimes the sights, the smells, the sounds frighten a cat for whatever reason, and it just isn't right for them.
Right.
So.
And is it feasible that at some point the cat gets accustomed to 70, 80 other cats and is accustomed to that, and then going into a home is traumatizing?
It's possible. Yes, I think so. Especially animals that I've had for a very long time might have a little bit more trouble transitioning, but I've adopted out cats that I've had for 4 and 5 years and not had any trouble with those. It's generally cats that I get in and I don't have enough time to really work with them that they end up getting adopted. So, but every cat's different. I mean, most cats are very, very adaptable to a new environment. You might have to give them 24 or 48 hours, but most cats adapt brilliantly well. I mean, look around the world. There are cats in every environment.
That's
even
right.
in Antarctica.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
they can survive.
I couldn't
pretty much
even
anywhere.
adapt to that. That's why I'm here. New York City winters. Woo. No,
Right.
no. All right, and is there a cost or a suggested donation, or is there something associated? Because I know a lot of this isn't cheap. It's got to be a significant expense to run a facility like that. So what are the requirements?
Well, for an adoption, I don't charge anything. I require that you give them a good and loving home for the rest of their lives, if possible. But if you want to give a donation, I'm happy to take that donation
Sure, yeah.
because we depend on donations to be able to do the work that we do. But it's not a requirement for an adoption. I just feel funny asking people for money when they're doing such a wonderful thing for a cat.
Yeah.
And,
So it's not required, but it's appreciated.
it is definitely appreciated.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
And I know that you've got volunteers and you've got people that help out, and one of the things I wanted to ask you was, if somebody wants to help out, how do they go about doing it? But before that, your actual, well, tell you what, let's do that, because I want to talk about some of the things that I've seen on Facebook that you've been doing, and that's really exciting to me, because like I said before the show, through the pandemic, it's really nice to see things moving forward instead of stagnating or closing, right?
Right.
So how, if somebody wanted, what are the volunteer opportunities that you have there, and how would someone go about saying, hey, I want to help out?
Okay. Volunteering out at Los Meninos is sort of a new thing for us. I've always before kept a pretty low profile and done all the work myself and taking care of all the costs myself, trying to kind of stay under the radar, if you will. But the facility has gotten so big. There's so many animals now that need help, and the cost has just spiraled out of control. So I need help. I feel like I provide a community service, and it's nice if the community can help me out.
Well, how can, and that's actually a two-part question, right? If somebody wants to help at the facility, what opportunities are there? But if they don't, if they just want to, sometimes people just, hey, I don't have any time, I'll just throw money at it.
Right.
What are some of the things the community can do to help you? And if somebody wanted to actually volunteer down there, how would that work?
Right. Well, we now have volunteers coming out on Tuesdays and on Fridays, but we can expand that if there's a particular need. So pretty much if you have any skill, we can put that skill to work. So there are people who come out and help with the deep cleaning that goes on Tuesdays and Fridays. And by that, what I mean is everything gets taken apart, disassembled, washed. The facility is washed, the walls are washed, the floors are washed, everything is completely changed out. All of the linens and bedding are changed out. It's quite an undertaking, and that happens twice a week.
Wow.
And then the other days of the week, I have a half-time employee who keeps the place clean and swept and mopped, and he helps feed with the animals and those kinds of things. So if you want a physical endeavor, then one thing, I'm always looking for people who can help out on social media. So right now, what we are desperately in need of is somebody who is bilingual that can help us with Instagram and Twitter.
Okay.
If you've got any kind of skills along those lines, it would be very helpful. If you are an accountant and want to look at helping out with some of the accounting, that would be great. Fundraising. We're all real novices at this fundraising thing. So if somebody had real professional experience and wanted to share that, we'd be more than happy to talk to you about that.
Well,
So pretty
millennials,
much any skill set that you have, we can work with it.
you hear that, millennials? You Instagram people, Facebook is for I think the older crowd.
Right.
But Instagram is right now pretty much where everyone goes. So if you got any Instagram skills out there and you want to help out, contact Judy at Los Meninos. You can find you on Facebook, right? I guess, right?
And really and truly, one of the things that we've tried to do in our recent communications is include the Spanish-speaking community.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're all expats, we're all speaking English, but we really, really want to get into the Panamanian community, and my understanding is they use Instagram and Twitter a lot more than
Yeah,
they do
pretty much.
Facebook.
Instagram is pretty much
Right.
is pretty much the main go-to, and I mean it's an easy platform to use.
Right.
You know, there's not a whole lot of scrolling involved. There's not tiny print, right? So
Right.
you know, it moves along pretty quick.
We have someone who, Norma Miller, is doing our translations for us, and she's doing a fantastic job. But the skill set that we need is somebody who can actually interact on Twitter and
Sure.
Instagram.
Okay.
So,
Well, you heard it here. You know,
Yep.
I know. You know. It's you know, Instagram, social media in general. That's really you need to be there. You know, and if you can find someone, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, people out there that are willing to, you know, to help you out with that Instagram, that would help out a lot. I know that from my own experience. You know, that would help out a lot. And I know that you've got some fundraising efforts and stuff coming up, and we're definitely gonna to talk to that, to speak to that. I very much like to know what's going on over there with all the you're building things, you're expanding things. You know, obviously you have got a long-term vision, or else you wouldn't be going through all this effort.
Right.
So what's been going on over there? What are these pictures? We want to hear the bochinche, and what are your long-term goals?
Well, yes, we're always trying to improve the facility over there. The basic facility was built 6 years ago. And so, that facility's there. It requires maintenance, ongoing maintenance. We've expanded and put in what's called a transition area. So this would be after a cat has been rescued and given to me. We put it in a transition area so that it's kind of like a quarantine situation. So we make sure that the cat's healthy, we make sure it's vaccinated, we get it sterilized, and this is an area where that cat can see all the goings on in the sanctuary and get accustomed to the people and the schedule and the movement in and out, and get to know the other cats, because they can come face to face, but there's a screen between them. So that's new. That's something that we had to put in, and very grateful for an anonymous donation to do that. The other thing that we did, again with a donation of funds, was we built 2 large cabanas. We call them kitty cabanas out in the yard, and they're A-frames with a concrete floor, and it protects the cats from wind and rain, and allows them to spread out a little bit.
Yeah.
So before, what we had was one main room, very, very large,
Yeah.
the size of a barn, and all the cats would have to come in there to eat and get out of the rain. Well, now we can spread it out across, it's about 3/4 of an acre that's enclosed that the cats
Wow.
cannot get out of. And so we have these other structures out there that many of them will choose to sleep out there, or they eat out there, because cats are cliquish. The same cats will hang out together in the same area.
Really?
And I always know, if I'm looking for a particular cat, I always know where to go.
Wow.
Because that cat hangs out in a particular area. So some of them don't want to come into that main room. They want to be somewhere else. So we're doing that. Like I said, we're doing the volunteer program. So that's up and running. We're moving in more and more into social media, trying to get more visibility, and trying to get the community more involved.
Yeah.
So
That transition area, to me, that's brilliant.
Oh.
I mean, I know that, and we've discussed this earlier in the show, and as a general, I guess, common sense, if you take an abandoned cat that's used to being domesticated and just, kind of throw it into which I know that's not what you do.
Right.
But this building that you put up, that allows them to see what's going on, they probably understand that they're safe in there. They probably feel safe in there.
Right, and it depends on the individual cat. Some cats will stay in that transition area 1 or 2 days. Other cats will be in there 1 or 2 weeks. It just really depends on how long it takes that cat to adjust to what's going on. So seeing all those other cats, seeing the people that come in and out, seeing a week's routine and how things are repetitive.
Yeah.
And repetition is comfort to a cat. So that's
It's
a good
comfort to
thing.
humans too.
Yeah.
You know.
So
I made a joke earlier on Facebook. Someone had posted something about dog's not allowed on the bed, and then there's pictures of the dog on the bed. And after almost 30 years, my wife and I switched sides of the bed, completely confused our dogs.
oh my gosh.
And we got about 15 minutes. Well, I got actually about 12 minutes because my friend and my personal physician, Dr. Shannon Tour is here, and she has a show tomorrow. But she wants to make an announcement about that. So before we close out, hi Shannon.
Hi guys. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
You got some fundraisers coming up. You have some things that you hopefully are gonna. One of the most fun things that I've done here. I've been involved in a lot of fundraisers here. Was doing the auction
Right.
2 years ago.
Right.
And that I love. I hadn't done that in years. I mean, I didn't think I would ever use that again because I did that in the States. I was an auctioneer. That whole and then Heist comes to me and say, "Hey, you know any auctioneers?" I'm like, "I know a guy." But that was fun, and that was very successful
Right.
for you guys. So what have you got coming down the pike?
Well, all things considered, with the COVID and the restrictions on, how we can get together and those kinds of things, we came up with the idea of doing a donation drive very similar to what NPR might do.
Okay.
And so for the month of May, we're having Meowvelous May, in which we're asking people to make donations, and we're going to try and raise enough money to cover 1 year's expenses.
Oh, wow.
Total expenses, and that's about $15,000.
About $15,000.
We are so thrilled because a very generous person has stepped forward and has offered matching funds for the first $5,000 that we raise.
Wow,
So
that's great.
It really is. It's wonderful. This person wishes to remain anonymous,
Sure.
but for $5,000, if you want your donation to be matched, hurry up and make a donation, and the first $5,000 that we raise will be matched.
And of course, if you have an extra $5,000 laying around
That's
with
right.
no immediate plans for, and you want to do something wonderful for our furry friends, I'm sure that you will make a concession there and take a single $5,000 donation.
It would be great.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah,
And the way to donate is to go. One of the easiest ways is to go via PayPal. And so there is a link on our webpage. Webpage is losmeninoscatsanctuary.org, and go to the donate button, and that'll take you directly into PayPal. Also, every Tuesday, I am at the market in the Arco Iris room.
Okay, I was going to say, which one?
Yeah. And
Not trying to start anything.
I'll take donations there also.
Yeah. Well,
So-
when we're done with the show here, sometime over the next couple of days, I will post a video on YouTube, and I'll put all the links in there,
Great.
for you, to the website and to your Facebook page, and all of that, because it really is a labor of love.
And it's a privilege. I look at it as a privilege as well. I mean, how many people are so lucky that they get to spend their day amongst all of these wonderful cats? It's really, like I said before, it's a relationship, and to have those kinds of relationships that are so meaningful in your life, and to actually get to do that 7 days a week. I feel very privileged to be able to do this work.
Now, are you personally, or is the Cat Sanctuary involved in the feeding stations around town here?
No, that's Kirsten Quimby's work.
Okay. I mean, I knew that's why I wasn't sure if that was. That's
no.
always fascinating to me, by the way. That doesn't happen at least where I'm from.
It's amazing.
It's just
But-
nobody does that.
Yeah.
And
Kirsten and Ray have done an amazing job with that, and the feral feeding station project was something that Kirsten inherited and has just taken off with it and done marvelous work with it. So
sounds like
she
I need to
feeds-
have her on the show.
You do. She's a wonderful person, and her heart is just golden.
Well, maybe
So
you can send me her digits.
She'll
as
hate
it
me
were.
for it.
Well, well, ask her
But I
first.
will, yes.
Ask her first if you can, because this is community radio.
Right.
And my goal with this show is to have people on the program that give back to the community, that provide community services, or rescue situations or whatever. And to me, being able to do my part, give you some airtime,
Right.
is my privilege, right? And the fact that there are so many generous, this community is just amazing. When they step up for everything, it completely blows my mind that whether it's a cat sanctuary, or whether it's one of the dog rescues, or individual people that maybe have medical problems or whatever, this community is by far the most generous place that I've ever. And I've lived all over the place. I've moved 32 times, I think, in the last 40 years. And like Johnny Cash says, I've been everywhere, man. And then I get here, and there's a need, there's a charity, there's a rescue opportunity, and this community just consistently just steps up.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Al. It's amazing the people that we have in this community. And, I feel so lucky to have actually come into it.
Now, if someone, can someone just, like, come to the sanctuary to check it out if they're interested in it, or is that something that...
Yes, every Friday we have an open house from
open
10 to
house.
4.
I did not know that's...
Awesome,
Yeah, so every single Friday, someone is there to host the open house. And this morning, Dave and Bridget Nichols are hosting for me.
I know Dave Nichols, yeah.
Yeah, really nice people. They've been
Yeah.
very, very helpful and put in a lot of time and effort at the
Wow.
sanctuary and to help me out. But every Friday, during rainy season, there might be 1 or 2 Fridays where I have to close the gate because
Well,
my driveway's so muddy. I don't want a car to
yeah,
get stuck
well,
out there.
Monsoon season.
Yeah, that would be the only reason why we wouldn't be open on a Friday.
Yeah.
So, and it's from 10 to 4. Just come out. I suggest you come early because the cats are very active between 10 and 12. If you come out there at 2 in the afternoon, they're all sleeping. So
Yeah, well, it's like-
mornings are better.
I tell people that,
About you.
about me, yeah. You could come by after 2,
Right.
but-
Right.
although people have come to my gate and just leaned on the horn. I'm like, oh, don't do that. It doesn't wake me up, but it wakes the dogs up, and the dog's usually in the bed with me. And when they wake up, I get scratched.
Right.
Nobody likes that.
Just one other thing.
Yeah, I
If
just want to
somebody
say
will-
we got about 3 or 4 minutes because I need to give Shannon a few minutes. So,
Right.
what is there anything you need to get out there?
Yeah, if somebody wants to visit, they need to contact me. So again, you can do it through Facebook, Messenger, email. There's all kinds of contact information on the website and Facebook page. Get in touch with me, and I'll send you directions on how to get out to the cat sanctuary. I don't publish those anywhere
Sure.
because I've learned that if my location is publicized, people just drop animals over the fence.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, they're just
Yeah.
tossing cats over the fence. Yeah.
And I've acquired a lot of cats that way, and sometimes it's really problematic because they might be a positive carrier for one of those viruses.
Right. Yeah. No.
And
That.
that's a problem.
You don't want that. All right. Well, that.
And the Durham cat tends to get angry too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that I would.
Right.
I'm just saying. We got total about 7 minutes left before we have to go. Actually, about 6 minutes before we have to go. Shannon, I don't know if that mic is live.
I don't know either, and I don't see any on or off.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anything like that.
But
So I'm gonna get closer to you if that's okay.
yeah, that's fine. So here's what I'm going to do because I don't want my doctor to get mad at me.
I know, right?
So I'm
I
gonna
know.
put
that mask on, Al.
my mask on, and
I don't even know if they can hear me from all the way over here.
they
but-
probably can. But I'm going to momentarily. Now this is where I'm muffled. This is why. Yeah, I'm gonna let Shannon sit here in the director's chair, and she's got a few things that she's gonna want to tell you.
A few announcements. Well, thanks Al for letting me intrude on your program today.
Get out of the way of the video because no one wants to look at my butt.
Anyway, I'm looking at the screen now, and I'm looking at my butt. Hello. So, anyways, the announcement is that unfortunately, the bad news is no show tomorrow because I'm not. Yeah, boo. I'm going out of town. This time it is for pleasure and not for work or for any other reason. Celebrating a very special birthday for my husband, so I'm taking him away for the weekend. Yay! Happy birthday, David. Today's his official birthday. Today's the official day, so we're going to head up to Volcan. And so we will be back next weekend, next Saturday, 10 a.m. with Talking with Your Doctor for our normally scheduled program.
Who's your guest? Do you have a guest yet?
I'm working on that. I'm hoping to have a very interesting guest next weekend, probably Dr. Tour, and it might be about allergies. And also, I was hoping maybe he would speak something.
Yeah, maybe I'll come. Maybe
Yeah,
I'll come through.
yeah, and I was hoping he'd also maybe speak about a little bit of trauma medicine, war
Yeah.
type
I can-
deal.
yeah, we can
That
do
might be
that.
interesting. Anyways, let me give you back the
Yeah.
mic, and you can finish up with your show.
Dr. Shannon, everybody. If you don't know who she is, if you ever get hurt,
Come to me.
Come to
I'll
her.
sew you up.
she'll sew you up. Yeah. I think Saturday she has a special with glitter stitching. So, if you... Oh, man. All right, so, yeah, I know. Shannon and I have been on each other's show, and last week we did a two-part special. One day me, one day on her. There's a lot going on here, and
We
she's
might
a
have to do that again.
great source of information, for everything medical. Her show's a hoot, too, All right, so let's recap, okay? So we got a few minutes left, and I want to make sure everybody gets the gist of everything that we talked about. Los Meninos, Cat Sanctuary. You do adoptions.
I do adoptions, and really, if you want to help out at the sanctuary, the most important thing is to adopt if you possibly can. And I know maybe you already have a cat, maybe you have dogs, whatever, but if you can adopt, that makes the most impact.
Okay.
Maybe you want to do a virtual adoption and sponsor a cat out there with a monthly donation to help take care of that kitty cat.
Wow,
and
yeah.
you can come out and visit that cat. We have probably 20 cats that are not adoptable.
Okay.
So those cats, they have to be taken care of.
Sure.
And maybe you want to do a virtual adoption of
Wow.
one of those cats. So
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
That really is a cool idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should do a little one of those TV commercials.
Yeah, with a little picture
With a little picture of the cat.
well, we're going to start a program on our Facebook page of the unadoptables that you are able to sponsor. And, you make a monthly donation, take care of that kitty cat, and we can send you pictures of that
Aw.
cat. We can tell you stories about that cat.
Can you go visit the kitty?
You can go visit the kitty. And the thing that makes these animals not adoptable is usually behavioral issues. So we have one cat out there by the name of Hefe, who has the pink collar around his neck that is a warning to people that Hefe will bite.
Ooh, color-coded cats.
Color-coded cat. So
I had a
Hefe-
Chihuahua that I should have spray painted pink. 'Cause
Right. So he's not adoptable, but he's a very nice cat, and he'll be very friendly with you. But if you're not paying attention the way he wants you to, he'll turn around and bite
he'll
you
let
really
know.
hard.
Yeah.
So there are other behavioral issues. For example, I have cats that would not do well in a home because they mark an area. So
Sure,
they
yeah.
don't use the litter
Yeah.
box the way that they should. So, and we have blind cats that have special needs, those kinds of things. So,
I think virtual adoption is really cool.
yeah.
That is really cool. Yeah,
Definitely,
that's
especially since they'll be taken care of inside the facility. They'll get everything they need, and you'll
Yeah.
also get their story.
yeah.
Absolutely.
That's-
and
that's-
every cat has a story, let me tell you.
Yeah, I bet, right?
They're
Yeah.
special creatures.
They are. Like I said, we had many cats growing up. We don't have any now. Our dog would be the kind of dog that couldn't be around a cat.
Right.
We have two, and the funny thing is the rescue one that we got from Javier Magali will get along with anything. You
Right.
could throw a ferret in there and they'll play. But the one that we brought from the States is a little diva. She's 8 pounds of teeth, and
Right.
she's sweet, but cats. No,
Yeah, and that's the case.
it would
in some
it
homes. Right.
wouldn't work. You've met Pepita, yeah.
Yeah.
I
she's-
think intimately. I mean,
Yeah.
she kind of climbs up on your lap and she sits there and she's like,
Yeah.
"This is my spot."
Yeah, pet me now. I want all of the pets.
Yeah.
Right.
Do not pet her. But yeah, so it's really good to know that you guys are out there. It really is. You know, I mean, I know that there's a lot of people don't understand. They just don't. They don't understand what it means, to be able to do this. Like you said, that you get to do this 7 days a week.
Right.
You know, but they also might not understand the impact they could have on many different lives just by either actually adopting a cat or virtually adopting a cat, and to help along with what you're doing. I think what you're doing is absolutely a community service.
Well, and every adoption enriches someone's life.
Yeah.
So you're not just doing a nice thing for the cat, you're also doing a really nice thing for the person.
Yeah.
So it goes a long way.
Yeah.
Yep.
So interestingly enough, it's 11 o'clock, and it's
Comes every day about this time.
it's time. Yeah, it's time for me to close the show out. And Bolivar, if you're listening, he's our engineer.
Bobby?
Gotta close the show out, but all right. Well, let's just close the show and see what happens. If he doesn't come back, we can just chit chat for a minute.
Okay.
My name is Al Stefanelli. You've been listening to Boquete Now Talk Radio on Radio Cherokee 103.3 FM, sponsored by Big Daddy's Grill, not Boulder 54, that's the old one, Big Daddy's Grill, and the ACCB. And the reason why I brought up Boulder is now we're riffing here, but Chris, as you know, Chris Young, is the proprietor of both Boulder 54, Big Daddy's, and the Tap Out. And he has got a couple of specials coming up. Monday, Tex-Mex night.
Nice.
Right, with Chef Benjamin. Starter, main course, dessert, $35 a person plus tax from 5 o'clock now. And then the following Thursday, April 29th, chicken fried steak. I have not had chicken fried steak in, well, how long have I been here? 3 years? A little over 3 years.
Probably
I don't
longer
know.
for me.
Yeah. But make sure, if that sounds good to you, you can get a hold of them through the usual Facebook drive-by.
And I'm not quite
You
sure
know,
why they
I
call it
don't know.
chicken fried steak.
I don't know. I've never, it's like
It's not steak.
I spent many years living in the southeastern United States, and I cannot figure out combinations, chicken and waffles. It's a thing. Everyone's crazy about it. I don't see it,
Right.
So I'm
Donuts and hamburgers.
but donuts and hamburgers, but or I don't want to. Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't want to say that people from the South have horrible eating habits, but I've been known to go to the state fair there in North Carolina and Georgia and just eat a stick of butter that's been fried, battered and fried Twinkies.
What is that?
Right,
I mean-
fried Snickers bars, fried ice cream. I've had. How do you even do that? They get a scoop of ice cream.
It's really frozen.
Yeah, it's like deep frozen, and I think maybe dry ice, and they batter it with whatever you want,
I think
and
it's cornflakes or something.
and they dip it in the and it's in there for like 10 seconds
Yeah.
maybe, and
It's nice and crispy on the outside. It's really cool.
it's so good. People wonder why are you diabetic? Well, state fair. It's not my fault. I swear it's not my. Well, it could be my fault. Okay, it is my fault. All right, yeah, all right.
Yeah, your doctor's sitting here, you know.
I know, right? I know.
Your doctor's listening to all this. A stick of butter out, really?
Can't really say it's not my fault.
A stick of butter?
I know it's crazy, but yeah, it's I know, right? So this is basically what we call in the industry riffing, and we do it when the show is technically over, but for some reason or another, there's no one to shut the equipment down or transfer to the next show. So
Because the signal has to be transferred.
because the signal has to be transferred, this is a sister station or a satellite station to the main station in David.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure. Hey, if anyone's listening to the show,
Tell us if it's going.
text me if you can hear me.
Because I just got
If
this.
not-
Radio Cherokee is live now with Max Sports Radio Cherokee
Oh,
103.3.
well, we may actually
what I
not
can
be
do?
on
I
the
can
air.
turn on
Why don't
the
you turn
car
on?
and-
Dr. Shannon's going to go in the car and turn the radio on. We may actually be talking to ourselves here. I don't know. That's funny. Happens once in a while. That's one of the charming things about Panama.
Yes.
You just never know what's gonna come up,
Nope.
and I think that's great.
I sit down and I make a plan for the week every week, and it never happens the way
That's
you think
about
it's
as
going
effective
to.
as setting the timer on your coffee machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't. What? Oh, we're off. We're off
Good.
the air. Well, okay. I hope they got the end promo. I don't know what happened, but
Yeah, I don't know how long it took for him to switch over. I thought normally he had to switch it over, but
But we're still
the lights are going.
The lights
yeah.
are still going. All right.
We're broadcasting into nowhere.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. So
Cool.
when he gets the video uploaded, I'll download it. I'll put it on. And if you have any
There
other
he is,
links, if you have any other links aside from your website and Facebook,
Hello.
or any other information you want me to put on there,
Okay.
just send it to me,
We
and,
were ad-libbing.
we'll put it there.
Okay. Well, thank you, Al. Thank you very, very much.
If that would